if their voicemail is totally full, if they're not there when I'm calling, that means they're not there when prospects and potential clients are calling, and there's no voicemail to leave a voice message. So they're losing out on how many clients.
Welcome to What the Biz, where we talk about building successful businesses, balancing life, and all the WTB in between. With your hosts,
I'm Brigitte Vector.
And I'm Dan Prochko. What's up?
Hello.
Back again for another week. I hope things are well with you, Brigitte.
Oh yeah, trying to survive the heat sauna that we found ourselves in here in Michigan this week.
I know. What do they call it? It's a bubble, or what did they call it? Was it a heat bubble? Is that what they call it? Or a heat?
I didn't even know that they were calling it anything. All I know is it's hot.
There's some term that they were using in it, and every time I'm always like, what do they call it? Oh no, they called it a heat dome. That's what it was. I remember. There it hit me. The heat dome. Yeah, it's almost like they took a what are those, the bell jar covers? Like, yeah, it's like that's right on top of us, and we just have like, I don't know, something going on.
I'm not going to complain about it though, because we get very limited like hot weather in Michigan, and I will take it. Like, it's okay. We need it. I'm good.
We're over the top right now, and I'm going to be on the other end of the spectrum than you. Not for the sake of being opposite, but this is too hot. This is nuts for me. Absolutely nuts.
I can't really say much because I'm either in my air-conditioned office or I'm enjoying the pool. So like, I'm not actually experiencing the heat. So it's not fair.
I can't feel bad for you. I can't feel bad for you whatsoever. Granted, I'm usually in my basement where it's like 70 degrees all the time in the summer. So I'll take it. That's not bad. But I'll tell you, my garden is not looking good. It's just been so hot. Like my tomato plants, they naturally do this when it gets hot, but they're all like shriveled up, and it just looks like it's dying, even though it's not. It's just a coping mechanism. But I really worry because I want good tomatoes. I want good tomatoes this year. So
it's on my list. Garden is on my list. We have so many, I call them my pet deers though. That I'm confident that they would think that I was feeding them from the garden, because I may or may not feed them quite often right now. So, yeah.
We luckily don't have too many deer. I think it's just the fences and that we're further in town than you are. So, it's the rabbits that get us.
Oh, yeah.
So many rabbits. They ate about a quarter of my beets, and I'm so bummed about it. But
they're happy.
They're happy. They're very happy. Got a nice little tasty treat.
Somebody was telling me that the rabbit population. This is such a off topic. That's okay though.
All right, here we go. We're getting into wildlife conservation here. Here we go.
Yes. Well, actually, because I had noted that I felt like I hadn't seen as many rabbits like recently, and there was like some sort of something that killed them all off, and it wasn't a heat dome. But they're back. Like the rabbit population, there's a lot of rabbits again. Like I'm seeing a ton of them, and I don't know, they're cute.
I can confirm they are cute, but they are devils to gardens.
Yes,
they even go up to like healthy plants and will eat them at the base of like a stem, killing off like all this potential of this plant just because it looked tasty at the bottom there.
What's that cartoon? Or it was like a movie. That should have taught you that. Remember, he always used to go in the garden and steal the farmer's stuff. Oh, what was that rabbit's name?
Are we talking about Thumper or whatever in Bambi?
Nope.
Oh.
It'll come back to me.
Is it?
Is it Cotton?
Yeah, I know. We're like right there.
Yeah, Cottontail? Something.
Yeah, Cottontail cartoon. You know what? This is where Google comes in. Peter Rabbit. Is that what we're talking about?
Maybe.
Peter Rabbit Cottontail, is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's been too many years. It's not in my brain anymore.
Well, you didn't take the garden lesson from Peter Rabbit.
No, so. I definitely didn't whatsoever this year. We usually put a fence up, and we were late to putting it up this year around the little garden area, and the havoc, it's horrible. Anyway, I think that's a good detour. You have a good week otherwise though? What are you working on?
Yeah. It's been a busy week. We are actually diving right into building out a couple of trainings that we are doing. One is going to be for small businesses to be able to set up their QuickBooks in an hour. I have been more busy than what I've wanted to, and I've put this off, and the team this week said, just do it. So we are doing it. So we outlined it and actually started recording some of the videos this week, and had a few consultation calls this week. It's been a good week. Yeah.
Wow. When is that? When do you think that course will be out?
I'm hoping for mid-July, actually. So.
All right.
Yeah.
We got a date. We'll see. I know, kind of like me in my book, I thought it was going to be done at the end of last month. Then I said end of this month. Looks like it's be a little bit longer. I'm in the middle of like the meat of the book, like
the
good
stuff.
Process. Yeah, the good stuff. And this one chapter is already 45 minutes in audio length, and I'm only halfway through it. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to, in my edit, turn it into multiple smaller chapters. But we're getting there. This is like the meat of it. After this, it's just smooth sailing to the end. So we're close. We're real close.
I look forward to these updates, because that's when I get my check-ins on how it's going. So it's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've talked to a couple of people at networking events recently. I've dropped, the hint, and there's been some excitement. And people are like, "Let me know when it's out. I'll be your first customer." I'm like, "I'm pretty sure my mom will be first, but I will let you know second." And so there's some good buzz about it already, which makes me excited to put it out. So yeah.
The testing of the market is so beneficial, to just kind of know, is it a need, and is it something you're going to be able to sell? We did something similar with this one of like, is there even a need for somebody? And I'm like, okay, yeah, a lot of small businesses are like, can you let me know when that's done? Because I need to set up my QuickBooks. So
I'll tell you, I'd have no idea. I mean, I've done enough in bookkeeping here and there, but QuickBooks it's a big thing. Definitely needed. Yeah. So real cool. Can't wait for it. So today we're continuing our series on what to do if you're feeling like your business is in a downturn. We've covered 3 topics already, right? It's been 3 topics.
We got the
1, 2. Well, we covered 2 topics. We covered the 4 areas: first impressions, the secret business killer that is capacity. So if you go back to episode 25, 26, 27 are all part of the series. Today we're going to focus a bit more on the sales. Now I have to ask, Brigitte, is sales a favorite topic of yours?
So when I started my business, I thought sales was going to be the most horrendous part of it. And I have come to love the sales side. It is my favorite thing to do in my business now. So yes, it is a favorite topic of mine.
So what brought you around? Because I hear this a lot, actually. And believe it or not, I had a similar thought too. I got into marketing. I'm a marketer, which is, everybody's like, isn't that sales anyway? No, it's not. It's 2 sides of the same coin, I guess one could say, in a way. And I also went from marketing to do some sales. And I can say, it's not like I would go into a sales career at all. I think that ship has sailed, but I definitely enjoy it. So what was the turning point for you?
I don't know if it's necessarily a turning point. I think it was a misconception in my own head. Because by default, right, most people, when they think accountant, they think introvert. And so I just found how natural I could talk with people. So this isn't sales to me. Like, I can tell you, my 2 consultations I had today, I spend more time listening and like just hearing what they have going on and treating it like I'm talking to a best friend over coffee. Like, it isn't, I take the sales out of it. It's more of, what can I hear with what this person is saying to provide some sort of value to them. It isn't selling anything to me. And I think that was the switch of how natural those conversations happened. And the less I focus on selling anything, the better that the whole process is. So I've just come to love the conversation. Like I just love talking to people, apparently, even though it drains me, which is also weird. But like I just love hearing their stories and about their businesses and where they want to go. And, and then getting to the point of, well, how can we support you in that? So I think taking the sales out of sales is probably where that switch turned for me.
I'm in the exact same boat. I definitely for a long time looked at sales as like, oh man, that's just sleazy. You're just trying to win $1 wherever you can, however you can. And don't get me wrong, there are those teams, and oh, it's so bad. It's the worst way to be. But for me, it definitely kind of same boat was when you really dive into and start training on the sale techniques of sales and what you're actually doing. It's all listening. You're just trying to listen to identify whether or not what you have is valuable to someone. And not do you have something of value, but do they think it's valuable to them? And that's all you're doing is communicating about value. And yeah, so totally changed my mindset. And when you change that mindset that you're just helping someone, you totally, it flips the script entirely on why you're doing what you're doing. You're trying to be helpful is all it is. And so it gets really rough when there are people you talk to that think you're just a sleazy sales guy. And it's like, no, I'm just here trying to help. It's cool if you say no. That totally helps me. The sooner I get to a no from you, oh my God, I get to move on to another conversation. But I'm seriously here. Like I'm actually vested in this conversation. I want to know. So it's definitely been a very cool mind shift, that you talk about. Same thing.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of where I heard this from. But they pretty much say like if you are talking more than like 10% of the conversation, you're talking too much. Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly 10%, but there is like a statistic around that where it really is about listening. There is a resource that I lean back to quite often when I'm going into some conversations. It's called Value Starts with Hello. And it's actually from Profit First, like the Profit First group. I'm pretty sure it's a downloadable ebook still that anybody can go download. But some of their thought process around, just having that conversation was really good information. So a lot has come from that when I'm thinking about sales is just the conversation and where am I providing value? And I'm sure in the marketing world, like the other piece that I think of when you're talking about just skills and sales is what you were talking about with the value that you're going to provide. Like if you don't know what your irresistible offer is for anybody, and I know that's like a buzzword, but if you don't know what you're actually offering that's going to give them that value, it makes it really hard for anybody that you're talking to know, what you're bringing to the table for them. So, yeah.
Yeah. I know of Profit First, and really great mindset there around thinking about your business and everything. But I don't know that downloadable specifically, so I'll have to look that up. My foray into training and sales was really Sandler. I don't know if you've heard of Sandler. They're like a global sales training network, and they've got their whole certifications and everything else, but they definitely focus very highly on that value piece and really listening and understanding. Another individual, Jeremy Minor, tons on YouTube for free, also has a lot of that, but he goes into a lot of technique as well beyond all of that. But yeah, really cool. So when talking about a business, not doing well, I mean, I guess the key thing is, I mean, whether you're doing well or not, you definitely want to have a handle on where your sales are at. So I thought maybe we'd start with, what are the things you look at as it relates to your sales to tell you whether or not something needs attention?
I would say one of the biggest things that I look at heavily is conversion rate. So if I'm having these conversations and it isn't necessarily because it's not converting because of something I'm doing, but is it not converting because people are coming into our world that are not meant for us? Like, are we marketing or are people finding us that really aren't meant for our services? So there's those two pieces I look at with conversion. Like, is it something with what I'm saying that isn't being said right? Or is it who's actually finding us isn't our ideal clients? So conversion rate is a big piece that we focus on. What about you?
Yeah, no, conversion rate is definitely huge. I'm sure you calculate it the same way we do, which is just, how many pitches did we have out there, and then how many did we win? And then bam, that's our at least pitch to close or pitch to win conversion rate. We also look at a couple of others along the way. We've got, the whole lead to close, which I think is a little bit closer to what you talk about. And then a couple others in between. But yeah, that one's really huge. The other thing I look at is just lead flow in general. How many leads are coming in, and how many of them get to that pitch phase. I think that for us and has been in my career a key metric for quality of leads. Because if they're not getting to pitch phase, that should mean they're not right. Something's off. But if nothing's getting to that pitch phase, then I think we have a skills problem with the salesperson. And what that percentage is of, lead to quote, as I call it, the lead to quote ratio, that's, I think, different for every person, team, and industry even. So there's no real benchmark for it. We just kind of look at what has it been historically for us, and is it better, is it worse, et cetera. So that's a big one for us. And then just overall lead flow. Are we getting enough qualified leads into the sales funnel to have enough pitches to hit goal? So I think those are the three areas we look at, which is overall conversion rate, lead to pitch, and then lead flow.
Yeah. We even look at sales outside of the sales process. So meaning we look at our lifetime with our customers. So the sale doesn't stop with the sale for us in our industry. If we have a high turnover of customers, then we also know something is not working in our ongoing sales process with our existing customers. And thankfully, I'll knock on something. We have a very good track record of longevity with our customers. Not that we've done it perfect and that we don't have hiccups or things that we're still working through. But if we're doing it right, the referrals or word of mouth or the direct, connections from our current customers are something that we measure as well. Because those are our favorite to move into our sales funnel. If they're coming from somebody highly recommending us that already works with us, it makes our sales process a little bit easier because they've got that, trusted referral source.
Oh, totally. Referrals number one all the way. I want to go back. You said sales outside of sales. I've not heard that before. Is that something you've come up with on your own, or just how your team naturally what they call it, or what is it?
Yeah, it's just kind of how we think about it. It's still selling, but it's not during the typical selling process that you think of, right? When you think of sales, you think of, okay, we're getting somebody into our funnel, they're going to book a consultation. Great, now we've closed the deal. Well, there's still sales outside of that sales process, right? You still are selling your customers, your clients all along their lifetime with them. And I don't mean it in a sleazy sales way. I don't view sales as a sleazy thing if it's done right. It's kind of, I compare it to dating, right? So when you first start dating, you're trying to wow them along the way, right? Your beginning sales could be the same thing. If you turn off that wowing and not selling anymore, what if they leave? So it's the sales. So we just call it sales outside of sales.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like if I understand this right, to clarify. So it's all the stuff you do to retain the client, any upsells along the way, or moving them into better programs or better initiatives, et cetera, that fit what they need, et cetera. It's all of that.
Yeah. It's always selling the positive value to either incoming potential clients or current clients that we have.
Yeah. Cool. So we talked about, those areas of focus, if you're feeling something's wrong, look at conversion rate. your lead to pitch ratio. So are we getting quality leads, and are we getting leads, period? So those three things kind of help you understand that. But I mean, to do that, you kind of have to know the sales funnel, and know what your funnel is, have your sales documented. We've done a lot of work in that area. And I mean, I kind of dumb it down to really three phases. Many businesses put it in others, but and you might have sub phases along the way, is what I'll call it. But really, there's really three. It's that there's your request, or your lead comes in. Okay, so a request for a quote or a consultation. There's your pitch / your quote that you're giving. And then there's that decision phase of, are they going to become a client or not? Now, within there may be other steps of like, oh, we have the free consultation. Then we have understanding other discovery issues where we're doing like a tour of a facility. I remember when I worked in IT, we required a tour of the technology that a company had. So we had to be on site with an engineer. I know there's a lot of home cleaning companies where they only do in-home consults, so you can't do an over-the-phone quote. Like, they just want to see the house and the state it's in. So that may be within that whole like pitch quote section, or even just before it, you know. But those are really the three phases that I kind of see in the funnel, and kind of those sub phases. Have you seen anything different, or do you work a little bit differently?
No, we work in a similar format. Obviously, like you mentioned, just some other pieces within it. I went through an exercise that really helped us. We worked from the end. So whatever the end is. Yeah. Were you going to go there?
I was going to go exactly there. So I love this. You and me, same page. This is so much fun. For how long we've known each other, I know we haven't gone deep into a lot of these topics, but whenever it pops up that we're like same brain on these things, it's huge. I have it right here. I like to work backward because you start with the goal. Like, I have that written right here. All right. So I'm going to give it to you. Go for it.
It's so funny because we didn't even talk about that part at all. But yeah, like starting with the end in mind, like what is the goal? That can even just be your offer. Like, what are you selling? Could be your goal. We put a deadline on ours though. So when we do a consultation, we have a deadline of like how long our proposal or quote is good for. Doesn't work for everybody, but I do know that helps a lot with leaving like lingering things. So our end is actually like we start deadline and then work backwards. But you know, the big part before that is the messaging. So what is your true value that you're giving? And then backwards from there is kind of like the opt-in. So for us, we have a free consultation call, you know, like that's how they get to us. And then I would even say even before that, like, what are you doing with that lead gen that you've kind of mentioned? Like, what's the invite into your world? What is the runway that everybody is getting to you? So like there's that whole beginning phase, but you can't really build your runway or your invite to you or know what you're consulting on if you don't really know what you're offering. So I love the starting from what your end goal is. And for us, like our end goal is always, it isn't even selling, you know, full blown accounting or bookkeeping services to a small business. Ours is before that. Like, we really want to book a diagnostic review with our potential clients to even understand what they have going on, or, you know, review their current accounting system. And it's such an easy way for them to experience us and the value that we can provide by just giving insight to what they already have going on and providing feedback or tips or tricks. So I would even recommend that if you can have like a pre-offer to your end offer where they can experience like a test of working with you, you should be able to sell yourself then, right? And you provide value from that pre-offer.
Oh, that's huge. I mean, that's why all of these freebies, downloadables, free trials, all of that exists. You know, why that's a strategy is that it's a quick way for people to gain value and thus make it easier to close the big sale, as it were, or get them to that next step, or easily identify, yeah, you're just not right for us. We're not going to work well together. Let's not delude ourselves and waste time. You know, it's definitely key. We definitely take a similar approach, but also add on to that. Like, once we do have this is that offer, et cetera, we set down, and I'm sure you do too. It's like the number of here's how many clients we want or consultations, etc. And then from there, we use our sales close rate or our average rate to then understand, okay, so here's how many requests we have to have come in so that we get that many clients at the bottom, which then helps us go even higher to the opt-ins and the marketing and the campaigns of here's how much we have to spend, effort we have to put in, things we have to do to generate all of that to create a bottom outcome. And that's definitely how we approach it to all the clients. One thing I wanted to ask is, do you use and or have a sales playbook?
Well, we have a written, yes, like we have a written document for this.
Got it. So you have documentation. This is something I don't see a lot of orgs do. This isn't me trying to, call you out or anything like that. It's something I learned along the way with Sandler and something I've put in place over and over again. When I was running sales with the IT company, we had all the team members put a sales book together, and it really has like about 10 sections. And I can list them all here, but maybe not. But it's a sales playbook per person that gives them everything that they would need to do what they do, but it's also a living document that they upkeep. So for instance, like it'll have a section that documents their individual sales performance. So say every quarter they go in and they recalculate, oh, here's my sales close rate. Here's my time to close. Here are my benchmarks for myself. So that every quarter I get this new number and I understand, am I improving? Am I at least holding level, et cetera. That sales playbook would also have the company's sales process or be linked to it. And then beyond that, it'll have things like scripts. Here's the cold call script. Here's my pitch script. Here's my follow-up script. Here's my script for dealing with gatekeepers at businesses, et cetera. Email templates, maybe buyer personas, case studies, pitch decks, other things would be in this document as a Google Doc or even a printed. I've had it before printed in a binder, but it's something that I still use a lot actually. And I prep for sales calls by going through my scripts. I then rewrite custom ones for who I'm calling, practice those, etc. And I know it sounds like, wait, isn't that sleazy? But it's just like anything we do. Do we really go into a major pitch? Do we go into family dinner without having prepped something in our brain? It's like, I just remember sitting down for family dinner every night was, I'm going to have to share what I did that day. I got to talk about it. All right, let me take just 2 minutes. It's even like on the walk on the stairs down, okay, to dinner. It's like, okay, here's what I did today. Okay, I got it already. Here we go. It's no different. It's just, it's just a different thing. And so sometimes I like to prep. I don't have to as much anymore with all the time put into it. But every now and again, I'll still do it. I'll go through there and be like, oh yeah, there's that one. I remember why I did that. It works, and you build these things that help you get the prospect to share is really the whole point of all of it. That's the whole point of all those scripts, is to really get that prospect to build a rapport with you in some way quickly so you can have a meaningful conversation. It's not to trick them into the end. So, so we put these sales playbooks together, or I have, and I've kept one this whole time. And I was actually just editing it earlier today because I learned something new and was like, you know what, I'm going to put that in my toolbox of things. And it's a really neat thing. We'll probably link to I'll link to a template that just has like a doc template to it. But that's something we use, and I use to definitely stay on top of things and stay dialed in, as it were.
Yep. We have all of our scripts, email templates, follow up, but like you were saying, it isn't to be sleazy. It helps us keep all consultations on a similar journey. And
Yes.
Not that we don't deviate and ask some other things, but I want that process to look the same, because what if somebody that we're talking to, goes and talks about their experience with us to somebody else, and that other person maybe already talked to us and had a completely different experience. And we like this throughout our whole business, not just sales, but it helps us to go through the same process because it helps with us knowing, are they a good fit for us? Are we a good fit for them? And if we don't have some sort of similar script we're running through, we might be missing key pieces that we would normally want to know or ask about that helps in the whole sales process. So, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that comes to mind with all of this is, okay, so we've done the tracking, we've got things documented, et cetera. We have a problem. How do we make it better? I know I haven't been perfect at sales, and I haven't been the best my whole life. You know, there are definitely things I've done to get better. How do you approach that?
How do I approach getting better?
How do you approach getting better? Yeah.
I'm always investing in myself and learning. So I think that's part of it. I think pushing myself to do more of it has made me better. And reflective, right? Like I like to record my sales meetings because we do them virtually. So I can go back and rewatch and be like, ooh, I really missed the mark on that one, because reflection is so beneficial. And honestly, depending on the customer or client, like if we do close the business, there are times that I will ask them for their opinion about how the sales process went for them. Or is there something that we could have asked you within that initial consultation? So I've gotten a lot of feedback that way. And I even ask those that decide not to work with us. And it isn't so much that they tell me what went wrong in the sales process, but getting feedback from, you know, what made them choose maybe a different service provider is a great way to reflect and get better too.
Wholeheartedly agree. There's no silver bullet to it for something like sales. I mean, it's a different skill, even though as we brought it up, you're just having a conversation. It's still different because you're usually talking to someone you have no connection to, you have no emotional connection to. Like it can seem difficult at first, try to build that rapport and to really care, which is what's needed. And so one of the things I've done a lot of is just role play with just other sales pros or colleagues and friends. I mean, it sounds hilarious, but it's like when you find that other friend or that other business owner, let's just say that you're like close with, it's like, how you doing on sales? I need some help. Can we like just role play some things, you know? Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I've definitely done the recording bit like you shared. That is very invaluable because you can go back and it's just like, oh, this was real world. Oh, I see what I did there. I pretty much cut them off. Like you can hear things like that, which is like, oh, they were going to go on for so much longer. Why did I jump in? I could have learned so much. This could have been a totally different conversation. You know, stuff like that definitely happens. So, yeah, those are the two big things for me. Outside of that, just going to get sales training, like jumping in, doing it. Although I highly recommend if you're hiring to hire somebody and give them that training, because you probably don't want to do it yourself, kind of thing. You know, that's definitely a role we're going to be filling pretty soon, and so we can jump out of this. But yeah, anything else you think we haven't touched on?
No, I think we gave a good one on this one. Yeah. I don't know. Sales is a big one, but those are some good tidbits.
Yeah, the only thing like we didn't touch on that I wanted to share was some statistics, and I know it's like, oh, great statistics, but the opportunity in sales is huge. I'm just going to share some things. Supposedly, like I was going through some research, and it blew my mind. So 44% of sales reps give up on the sale after just one follow-up attempt. Like that's crazy. That's nuts. That's almost half of sales people give up on a sale after the first attempt. Now 92% of salespeople give up after 4. Now that's crazy because consumers say no 4 times before they say yes. So you've only tried to contact them 4 times. You haven't even talked to them 4 times. And it takes 4 no's before you get a yes. On average, it's not always true. It's just like an idea that no is this proverbial no. But I mean, just seeing that and then also understanding that it takes on average 8 touch points to reach a prospect, but 92% of people are missing or are ending at 4. Like they're halfway to even getting in touch. So if our organizations are just like, if you're listening to this and you have a sales team, give them a minimum of like 10 to 16 touch points before they give up on anybody. Because if you do that, you're at least guaranteed to get over that 8 and probably talk to 80-90% of all your leads coming through. Whereas all your competitors are going to stop at 1 or 4 touch points. You're just going to be so far ahead on that follow-up that you're going to beat everybody because you're doing the fundamentally right things. So it just blew my mind. It completely, I've known some of these statistics for a while, but it always blows my mind that they've remained true for like the last 20 years. Like these numbers have not changed from when I started in marketing and sales. These statistics have remained true, which means that like everybody's just being lazy, even though we know the fundamentals. So it blows my mind. It's just like, do the follow-ups. Sorry.
Well, no, it reminds me of the quote, the fortune is in the follow-up. I've heard that so many times.
There you go.
And I feel like we should do an entire episode around what follow-up looks like. And it can even be thinking through like, what are the touch points that you have with somebody afterwards? Like if you're not putting them on an email list somehow where they are getting information from you, you're missing such a good opportunity for follow-up of them just remembering your name. Yeah. Such a great point.
So I think we've kind of touched on it all. So what do you got coming up? What's up? What's next?
I don't know. Finishing this training. We have our new hire is starting in a few weeks. So
Yep. Legendary hire that we've heard so much about.
We're so close. So close.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And your book.
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record. For me, it's my book. It's just getting that done. I've got. I think I've said 3 chapters for a while. I've got 3 chapters left. And then the massive editing, and then it'll be ready to go. I say that, and there's still like the book cover to make and all this stuff, but I don't know. I really hope I don't get lost in that stuff because it's really important to get it out and just make sure that people get it in their hands. So yeah, excited for it, but, that's coming up. New client starting next week. Excited about client we talked to a year ago, talk about the follow-up.
I was going to say, look at your case study for follow-up.
Yeah, I know. So a whole year later, sent something out and then we get a phone call out of the blue from them. And so that's happening. So that's exciting. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Another episode of What the Biz. Check us out on Facebook. Leave us a review on your favorite listening app, as it were, whether that be iTunes or Spotify or wherever else. You can find us all over. And then, if you have any questions about anything that we've talked about, we'd love them. You can email us through the website, whatthebiz.com, or you can leave us a voicemail. We'd love a voicemail. We have a little nifty tool on the site that you can use and actually leave us a voicemail. So we'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.